They say silence can be the most powerful scream. But when your silence is used against you, when your kindness is turned into a weapon, that's when you realize some people don't destroy you because you're weak. They destroy you because you were too good to fight back. That's exactly what my boss did to me. She didn't just fire me. She erased me. Hi, I'm Lila. And this is the story of how the woman I trusted, the woman I worked for, destroyed my reputation, and how I quietly, patiently destroyed her comfort without ever raising my voice. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you admired, if you've ever been made to doubt your worth, stay with me till the end. And if my story touches your heart, please like this video, subscribe, and let my voice remind you, no one gets to define your worth but you. Now, let me tell you how it all began. It started with admiration. I was 28, freshly divorced, trying to rebuild my life when I got the job. A job I didn't just need. I owed it to myself. The company was small but elegant, known for its class and precision. And my boss, Sarah Malik, was the kind of woman people whispered about in admiration. Sharp, composed, untouchable. She was everything I wanted to become. Respected, successful, confident. When she spoke, rooms fell silent. When she entered, people straightened their posture, and somehow, she noticed me. Maybe it was because I worked harder than anyone else. Or maybe it was because I saw in her the reflection of the woman I wanted to be. Whatever it was, she began to trust me. At first, it felt like mentorship. She'd invite me to meetings, ask for my opinion, even introduce me as her right hand. It felt like a dream. Until dreams began to turn into illusions. It started small, missed acknowledgments, subtle corrections in front of others, small digs disguised as jokes. You're too emotional sometimes, Lila, she'd say with that polite smile. You have potential, but not everyone appreciates passion. Tone it down. I took it as advice. I thought she was trying to polish me. But deep down, she wasn't polishing me, she was dimming me. One day, she asked me to present a proposal, something I'd been working on for weeks. I stayed up countless nights, perfecting every slide, every word. When the day came, I stood before the board, nervous but proud. And before I could even begin, she interrupted. Actually, she said, smiling at me, let me take this one. Lila. She presented my work, line by line, as her own. I stood there, frozen. Everyone clapped, and she looked at me like I should be grateful for being in the same room. That was the first time I realized admiration can blind you to manipulation. After that day, the distance grew. She stopped including me in meetings. She whispered with others. Rumors started, small, poisonous things. That I was emotional, unreliable, distracted. Suddenly, the same team that once respected me began avoiding me. It wasn't until weeks later that I found out. Sarah had told the higher-ups that I'd made serious professional mistakes. She didn't just remove me, she erased me. I was suspended pending investigation. A polite way of saying, we don't believe you. I remember sitting in my car that day, the letter trembling in my hand, my chest tightening like it was caving in. My tears weren't for losing the job. They were for losing the faith I had in someone I called my mentor. I could have fought back. I could have shouted, exposed her lies. But no one would have believed me. She was powerful, respected, untouchable. So I left quietly, with my dignity, with my silence, and that silence became my weapon. Months passed. The world forgot about me, but I didn't forget her. I took my pain, that cold, burning ache, and I built something from it. I began freelancing, small projects at first, late nights, endless rejection, but slowly, things changed. My designs, my ideas, the same ones she once stole, started catching attention. One client turned into 3, then 10, then 50. I created my own agency, Luma Creative. Tiny at first, but full of honesty, warmth, and talent. Every client I earned, I treated with the sincerity she never gave me. And people noticed. Within 2 years, Luma was being mentioned in the same spaces as Sarah's company. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I'd stopped waiting for someone else to see my worth. Then, one afternoon, fate gave me the kind of closure that only silence can buy. I was at a business expo, showcasing my agency's work. And there she was, Sarah Malik. Her aura wasn't the same. There was tension in her eyes, the kind that comes from being chased by your own mistakes. She walked up to me, smiled tightly, and said, "Lila, you've done well for yourself." Her voice was calm, but her eyes trembled with something that looked a lot like regret. I just smiled. "Thank you," I said softly. "You taught me a lot, and I meant it." She taught me that not all power is loud. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, graceful. 2 months later, I got a call from one of her former clients, the same ones she once stole from others. They wanted me. Apparently, Sarah's company had been losing credibility. Too many complaints, they said. "We need someone trustworthy." That's when it hit me. I didn't have to destroy her. Her comfort was built on deceit, and deceit always collapses on itself. I just had to wait and build. Now, when I look back, I don't feel anger. I feel gratitude. Because sometimes the people who break you are the ones who push you into becoming unbreakable. And Sarah, she still runs her company, though much smaller now. Occasionally, I see her at industry events. We exchange polite smiles to women who both know exactly what the other has lost. She lost her comfort. I found my peace. And honestly, that's the kind of revenge I wish for everyone who's ever been wronged. The revenge of becoming untouchable through grace. Because some battles aren't fought with anger. They're won with evolution. Do you know what's worse than losing your reputation? It's realizing that the person who destroyed it still gets to walk around smiling, respected, and untouchable. For months after leaving Sarah's company, I couldn't even look at my reflection. Every time I did, I saw someone who'd been defeated. A woman who worked too hard, trusted too easily, and spoke too little. But silence has layers. Sometimes it's the wound, and sometimes it's the weapon. In the beginning, I drowned myself in guilt. I kept asking, what did I do wrong? Maybe I was too eager, too emotional, too honest. Maybe that's why she destroyed me, because my light exposed something she didn't want to see in herself. I remember those nights vividly, the kind where your tears dry on your face, but the ache doesn't leave your chest. I'd stare at my ceiling and think, if I just disappear, would anyone even notice? But one night, something changed. It was raining, heavy, loud, the kind that feels like the world is weeping with you. I sat by my window, clutching my old office ID card, the one with my name printed in bold. Lila Khan, Senior Associate. I don't know why, but I started laughing. A bitter, broken laugh that came from somewhere deep inside me. And then I whispered to myself, she may have destroyed my name, but not my ability. That one sentence became my lifeline, my silent rebellion. I sold my car, used every bit of savings I had, and rented a small studio apartment. I placed a desk near the window, my old laptop on top, and a sticky note that read, "Start again." At first, I took anything that came my way. Freelance design work, content creation, even small marketing campaigns for local businesses. No glamour, no spotlight, but each project healed a small piece of me. I worked quietly, obsessively, like someone rebuilding a house after a storm. And slowly, people began to notice. Clients loved how personal my work felt. They said I had heart in everything I created. Funny, isn't it? The same heart Sarah once mocked for being too. Emotional became the reason people trusted me. But the real turning point came 6 months later. A small business owner named Mr. Hassan hired me to design branding for his new cafe. He was kind, patient, the complete opposite of what I was used to. He said, "I can't pay much, but if your designs bring people in, I'll tell everyone about you." I poured my soul into that project. Every design, every detail. It wasn't just work. It was proof that I still had worth. And guess what? Within weeks, his cafe became the talk of the town. People started asking, "Who did your branding?" And Mr. Hassan, true to his word, kept giving them my name. One cafe turned into 5 new clients. And those 5 turned into 15. It wasn't long before I was working 16-hour days, juggling deadlines, building a small reputation of my own. But this time, it was mine. No one could steal it. No one could erase it. Still, I never forgot her, Sarah. Not because I hated her, but because I wanted to remember the kind of woman I never wanted to become. About a year later, something strange happened. One of my clients invited me to an event, a corporate gathering for entrepreneurs and brand owners. I hesitated at first, but something inside whispered, "Go." I wore my simplest outfit, a white blouse and navy skirt. Nothing loud, nothing to prove. But when I walked into that room, it felt like fate had been waiting. Because there she was, Sarah, dressed in her usual power suit, perfectly polished, surrounded by people. She looked exactly the same, but I didn't. She noticed me almost instantly. Our eyes met. For a second, she froze, and then she smiled. "Lila, it's been so long. I have heard your name here and there," she said. Her voice was polite, but underneath, I could sense it. The same unease I once felt standing before her. Only now, she was the one unsettled. I smiled back. "Yes, life's been busy." That was all. No bitterness, no sarcasm. Just calm. The kind of calm that comes from knowing you've healed beyond their reach. She asked where I was working now, and when I said, "I run my own agency," her smile faltered for a split second. It was barely noticeable, but it was there. That flicker of discomfort. Later that evening, as the event went on, I overheard something. A group of executives whispering near the bar. "Her company's been struggling lately," one said. "Some key clients pulled out. They're looking for fresh faces, fresh faces." Like me, I didn't smile. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt peaceful. Because I realized karma doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it walks quietly, just like I did when I left her company. Over the next few months, life began to change faster than I could keep up with. Luma Creative was growing. I hired 2 interns, then a small team. And one day, I received an email that made my heart stop for a second. It was from Sarah's company. A corporate partnership proposal. They wanted to outsource some design work to us. I stared at the screen. Unreadable. Was it irony? Fate? Poetic justice? I don't know. But I smiled. I accepted. Not to mock her. Not to remind her of what she'd done. But to prove to myself that I was no longer defined by what she took away from me. Weeks later, when we met to discuss the contract, she looked at me with something I hadn't seen before. Humility. Not the forced kind, but the kind that comes from realizing you once stood on someone's back to rise. And now, they're the one extending a hand to help you up. We spoke politely. She avoided the past, but her eyes said everything her pride couldn't. And I didn't need an apology. Her regret was already visible in her hesitation, her softened tone, her silence. That day, I walked out of the meeting, stepped into the sunlight, and felt something I hadn't in years. Freedom. Freedom from anger, from pain, from needing to prove anything to anyone. Because the best revenge isn't making them suffer. It's showing them you never needed them to begin with. It's walking past their destruction. Carrying peace instead of bitterness. It's smiling, knowing they can't take away what you built in silence. And that's exactly what I did. There's something no one tells you about healing. It doesn't happen in a straight line. You think you've moved on. You think you're done hurting. And then, one random day, a smell, a sound, or a familiar phrase pulls you back into the storm you thought you'd escaped. For me, that storm came back the day Sarah called. It was a late evening. The golden hour light spilling across my apartment. I was finishing up some design drafts when her name flashed across my phone. I stared at the screen, frozen. It had been nearly 2 years since we last met, since I'd walked out of that partnership meeting. With quiet satisfaction, for a moment, I thought about ignoring it, but something in me whispered, "Pick up." When I did, her voice was different. Soft, tired, fragile in a way I'd never heard before. "Lila," she said, her voice trembling slightly. I didn't know who else to call. I leaned back in my chair, silent. She continued, "I've lost everything. The company's shutting down. My investors pulled out. My husband left last year. I don't even know where to start anymore." For a long second, I didn't speak, because this was the same woman who had once stood in front of me, confident, untouchable, proud. And now she sounded like an echo of her former self. I could have said so many things in that moment. I could have reminded her of the way she humiliated me in that office, how she watched my reputation burn and still smiled, how she told everyone I was unstable. But I did in single quotes. Instead, I said softly, "Sarah, I'm sorry you're going through this." There was a pause, and then a shaky breath. "Thank you," she whispered. It was strange, the way life turns. How the person who once took your peace becomes the one who calls you for theirs. We spoke for a while. She told me everything. How the board had lost confidence in her leadership. How her closest colleagues turned against her. How she realized too late that the empire she built was made of fear, not respect. And as I listened, I realized something important. Revenge wasn't what I wanted anymore. It never truly was. What I wanted was understanding, to know why she did what she did. And now, hearing her speak, I finally did. Sarah wasn't evil. She was scared, terrified of being replaced, outshined, forgotten. She saw my passion as a threat, my success as a mirror reflecting her own insecurities. And when people are ruled by fear, they destroy what reminds them of their weakness. Before we hung up, she said something I'll never forget. "Lila, you were the best thing that ever happened to that company. And I was too blind to see it. I'm sorry." Her voice cracked on that last word, and for the first time, I heard the truth in her tone. Not manipulation, not pride, just regret. After we hung up, I sat there quietly, the city lights flickering outside my window, and I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I finally felt free. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing not to carry their weight anymore. That night, I opened my old laptop, the same one I started my new life with, and I wrote in a journal. I had kept hidden all these years. She took my reputation, but not my resilience. She stole my peace, but not my purpose. And in the end, she lost everything she built on lies, while I built something real from truth. Months passed, and life moved beautifully forward. My agency, Luma Creative, expanded internationally. We began working with NGOs, startups, even global brands. I trained young women who'd been silenced, overlooked, or broken by people like Sarah. Women who needed Someone to remind them that their story wasn't over. It was just waiting for a rewrite. And every time I watched one of them walk into our office with timid eyes and walk out with confidence, I felt something sacred inside me heal even more. One afternoon, as I was leaving the office, I saw Sarah again, this time by chance. She was standing at a bookstore, looking at a display of motivational books. She didn't see me, but I saw her. The way she stood quietly, her hair tied loosely, her clothes simple. She looked human, and I smiled because I finally understood. Not everyone who hurts you deserves revenge. Some just deserve to live long enough to understand what they've done. As I walked away, I whispered to myself, she tried to destroy me, but all she did was teach me how to rise. And that's the truth about people like her. They may have the power to break your moment, but never your destiny. I learned that the strongest revenge isn't screaming your success from rooftops. It's living so gracefully that their memory no longer defines you. It's sleeping peacefully while they replay their regrets in silence. It's building a life so bright that their shadow fades completely. Today, I'm not the same Lila who once cried herself to sleep. I'm not the woman who begged to be understood or who mistook cruelty for strength. I'm the woman who rebuilt her life brick by brick with faith, dignity, and quiet fire. And sometimes, when I walk past a mirror, I smile at my reflection and say, you didn't destroy her. You became her. Because my story isn't about revenge anymore. It's about rebirth, about turning pain into purpose, and about proving that no one, not even your worst enemy, can take away the future that was written for you. So if you've ever been betrayed, humiliated, or made to feel small, remember this: the storm you're facing isn't the end. It's just the fire refining you into the woman you were always meant to become. And one day, when they finally see what you've become, their silence will be your loudest victory.